My name is Jessie Fairbanks. I'm the program manager and programmer here at Doc NYC. Please welcome back to the stage the director of I'm Gonna Make You Love Me, Karen Bernstein. We also have with us Nevie Owens, the editor, and the main man himself, Brian Belovitch.
I'm taping this for my website.
Oh, that's why. I was like, where is this coming from? Right here. Hi, Brian.
Hello.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, such a mistake. I'm so sorry. Best laid plan. Thank you.
Perfect.
Now what?
So if I can have you guys just step forward just a little bit so everyone can see you.
Why is this still?
It's probably us, so I'll stay over here.
Come this way. Okay.
We'll have a really awkward Q&A where I stand over here and you guys stay over there, and that's how we're going to do this.
Why do we do? Do we even need these? Really?
We can shout. We can
Yeah,
shout.
I mean,
They're a little high, just maybe
Yeah,
soften
turn them down.
a little. Take it down a notch.
So many directors. That's right. I maintain my really bad camera and sound credit to this day.
Can you guys hear us okay? We'll shout. Okay, great. Awesome. Well, then I'll have you guys take a step forward so everyone can see you. Come in the middle. Come on. You guys are the show.
In the light.
In the light. Let's start with the beginning. Let's start with how you found out about Brian's story, and there's an incredible intimacy that is so evident on screen between the two of you, and you are co-creators.
We've never slept together.
Not yet. But why don't you tell us where the project started and how you found out about Brian's incredible life?
The whole story? No, in 1993, yeah, the concise story. 1993, the woman I was dating at the time said, it was my birthday, actually, and we were having a little party downtown, and she said, oh, this is really,
Too much.
do you guys need it? And so we were having a party downtown, it was 1993, and this woman I was dating said, I'd love my friend Brian to come, but she didn't really tell me much else about him other than that. And I had way too much vodka that night, as I remember. And then somehow, I can't figure out how, she suggested that, she said, well, Brian has never had his driver's license, but he owns a car, which is in New York, is a really weird thing. And I guess it was Gloria's car, right? She passed on to him. And I said, okay. And she said, would you be willing to drive him to his driver's test in Brooklyn? And I said, sure. I think I was in between jobs. And I did. And from that really misbegotten drive, because we got horribly lost in Brooklyn, trying to, before GPS or any of those things. And we were talking about this, we just remember circling the same block over and over and over again. And he told me all these stories. He said, that's where when I was Tish, I used to pick up the Hasidim over there. He's like, getting more lost. And I was just, and so really, in a sense, the movie started there in 1993. And I don't know, I mean, life came, and then, then Brian kept emerging in my life. When I got the Grammy Award for another film I made, he was the first person I saw backstage because he was working for People magazine or whatever. And, it's just like we stayed in touch for years. But it wasn't until 2014, and that's a whole other story, we won't go into it, but that I actually picked up a camera and started, right? Mm-hmm. None of that footage we used. No. Well, some of it we used. Yes. And really the reason that this film looks the way it does is because of this woman. Documentary makers in the audience, of which I would think there are a few. The editor is, she has made this film in so many ways that I can't even begin to describe.
I would
So,
say it's our relationship.
Yeah. How many films have we done together now?
This is our fourth.
Fourth.
I mean, I love the credit you give yourself at the end, Karen, where you say terrible camera
Yes,
and sound
I
work by
was-
Karen.
Because this film has never had enough money.
Wow.
Still doesn't have enough money.
But it has a heart.
It has a heart, and it worked. I mean, the first thing, I came back with all this footage, I was so excited. I went to Providence with Jim and Brian, and I shot all this stuff, and I borrowed this camera, and I was so excited about it. And Nevie, the first thing she said is like, "Have you had your eyes checked?" Why? She said, "Because it's all out of focus." So the fact that you can watch it at all is...
We salvaged something. We salvaged
We
something.
salvaged
We did.
quite a bit, yes.
So Brian, obviously, you know, you've led an incredible life, as you talk about in the film very candidly, and you have your memoir, Fully Transfigured. Transfigured, I'm sorry. You know, but writing down your memoirs is one thing. Sharing your life to a camera and then to an audience where it will go on and have a life of its own is an incredibly different thing. How did you prepare for this, and where did you find the bravery to talk through many chapters of your life?
Let's see, that's a good question. I think that living your life authentically makes you brave. So luckily, in spite of all of the difficulties and obstacles and things that I had to overcome, one of the things I was able to learn was to just try to be myself, and to be honest. And I think as a result of that, you know, is bravery. You know, whenever you, you know, are who you really want to be, you know, it just sort of kind of goes with the territory, in a sense. And I had, you know, and I Karen's like a sister to me. You know, we such a, you know, a sister of my choice.
Yeah.
Like, you know, we can choose our own family today. And Karen was like always like a sister to me. Even when we met, we sort of bonded immediately. And so there was a lot of trust in turning my story over to Karen in that sense. But also I knew that she had been incredibly successful with other things. She's an amazing filmmaker, an amazing person with incredible humanity and big heart herself. And so that, you know, encouraged me and made me feel safe, yeah, safe. But, you know, seeing the film, that's the first time I've seen the whole film. Really, so it was very emotional to see the whole thing. It's gorgeous.
Nevie, there's so much that you are working with here in terms of footage. There's so much stuff from Nelson Sullivan from the 1970s and the 1980s, which is incredible. Like, you got access to that. You have Karen's incredible footage that she used as well.
Yes.
And so can you talk us through, like, you know, how, when the film started and Karen brought you this story, how did you start to put together a structure in your mind with Karen as a creative process, and how did you start to weave in all the archival footage and build the narrative in there?
Do you guys want to try the mics real quick?
Sure, I will. 'Cause I'm losing my voice.
yeah,
Let's see if is this okay.
Sorry.
Well, you know, it took us 4 years to get through this film, so it's been a long time. So I'm trying to remember our entire process.
We had many concepts.
But we did.
Yeah.
We did.
Many, much of what-
One, I wanted to figure out how to incorporate the archival footage as much as possible. I mean, that was a gold mine for me. I get giddy watching it. I love it. It just puts you in the right time and place. And sorry, I should be talking to you. But I think I said in one statement that it sort of turned a corner. My family grew exponentially by having twins, and so became a mom of 3, and I really had to figure out how to really make this story transformative and speak to everybody. And so for the most part, for me, the big one was how to find the love story in it and find Brian's love story, and it was with himself. And in becoming a parent, I realized that love wasn't enough, that it needed to be about acceptance. And so I had to really fold that in. And I really just liked seeing Tish on screen a lot. So I liked.
She made it.
She did. She
It's
pops.
magnetic. Yes.
She's bold and beautiful.
But
and
I
so-
love you incorporate Joan Crawford and so many other starlets in it as well.
Well, one of my
favorite
sequences is the opening credit sequence, and what I wanted to do was, if I was making a TV episodic series, they have really amazing title sequences now, and I was like, what would ours be? And I was trying to imagine you growing up, and then how you were getting fed what a woman is, and how we perceive women, and what you were going to project out. And so that's how I created the title sequence. And so, yeah, I wanted to show all of those little bits and pieces. We started, Karen called them the flight of fancies, and how Brian was receiving information, and how he would have these flashes throughout his life of just how we're fed information and what we're supposed to believe, and how culture feeds us information and what we believe to take in and make our own. So we wanted to show that.
Yeah, really successfully and beautifully done.
Thank you.
For Karen and Brian, obviously so much of this film was built on trust and consent, and you're talking so authentically about your own journey, which at times it seems like you're still working through on camera. Was there ever a moment when you asked Karen to put the camera down, or Karen, was there ever a moment when you kept filming and you really wish something could have been in the film but didn't make it?
We were talking about this today, actually. Do you want me to say what I talked about? Oh, well, there was this amazing moment. First of all, I just want to thank Mike Nicholson is in the audience. He's another, where is he? Stand up. I can't see a thing. There's Mike. One of the best motion graphics, title designer, and filmmakers himself. And there was one, I just want to, everybody that worked on this film, please get up. Michael Musto is in the back. Michael, do you want to come up here? Jim Russell, Gloria Walker is here, ladies and gentlemen. Gloria is here. Yeah, very hard to see. Yay, Gloria! She's a total hero of this film. Yes, looking lovely. Michael, if you want to come up here. But God, what was the question?
What's missing?
It didn't work.
What didn't make it in?
Late one night, we were on a deadline for something. I can't even remember what it was. And we were working all night, or just about.
We were?
Yeah,
Oh.
you and me and Mike.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Should I tell this?
Yeah,
story?
tell us.
What?
And I feel I've known Brian forever.
you're gonna tell
I
this-
never knew Tish. We have to tell the story.
Okay,
I'll
be right
And then when Mike, do you remember this? And you're gonna leave. Okay. And if any of you have ever been on a deadline for anything, you know what it's like, and you get giddy after a while. And we were giddy, and I think we had finally finished the thing. Oh no. And and at one point, Mike was working on some graphic things, and he just sort of turned to me and he said, "What is a penis tuck anyway?" And I was like, "Wow, I don't know." And I realized it was the one question I had never asked you. I had no idea. So because of the magic of Google, we went online. And we stood there laughing hysterically. Do you remember? Going, "Oh my God, that's a penis tuck."
I knew what a penis tuck was.
You knew?
Yeah.
That was the one question.
And Brian, you weren't there to answer?
No,
Oh.
No.
Well, if you had been there, how would you have described it?
Oh, come on.
Oh.
I don't think you get it. Just Google it.
Just Google it. Okay. Do we have
Very
any?
painful.
Yeah. Well.
Very painful.
Do we have
It
any?
doesn't add any
Mike,
length or
do you
girth.
remember? You can attest to
Doesn't add any what? Sorry.
Length or
It doesn't add any length. Good to know. Do we have any? Did I see a question over there? Yeah.
Someone have a question, please.
Great film, by the way. Thank you for
Thank
sharing.
you.
Curious how you've been accepted after sharing this with the trans community. How they accepted you or not, and what kind of feedback have you gotten? And what happened to your best friend, Paul?
It's a great question. I'm just going to rephrase really quickly before Brian
Gloria?
answers.
Yeah, Gloria, you want to come up for a second?
Come on,
Come on, they
Gloria.
want to talk to you. Come, help her up.
We should be giving this to
Thank you for your question. Initially, I get this question a lot, actually, and initially it was a shock
to most of my trans women friends. And we're talking about 1987 here, so we weren't as evolved as we were on the conversation of gender. And it really freaked them out. And we're talking about, people that I had been friends with for many, many years, and it was difficult. It was a very difficult time for me to try to come to terms with what I had done, and also, not have that particular support at the time. So it was really difficult originally, and it was actually, I've written about this in my book, and I kind of allude to, I didn't really allude to it in the film as much, but in my book I go into detail about it felt like being sort of banished from a tribe and, sent out into the desert, like, some like other, being like, kicked out of the litter, so to speak. And eventually things changed, and recently, not too long ago, maybe like a couple of years ago, I was invited to the Transgender Health Summit in San Francisco, and I do a lot of trainings on the transgender community and identity, and I was invited out there to share my story about retransitioning, because there's a lot of information about it that people don't really understand, and so having a little bit of experience, I went out there, and I have to tell you, the response was so overwhelming to me. The kids, the younger generation, the kids, the students, the psychologists, the teachers, the professors, they were just they couldn't have been kinder and more accepting and more generous in their curiosity about my process and other people's process. So things have changed a little bit, but initially it was tough. It was tough initially. And Paul, Paul is Gloria's son, Paul Bricker, and sadly he passed away in 1984, I believe. He died while working in Italy. He was a hugely successful makeup artist and hairstylist. He created some of the most iconic, album covers with the B-52s and Chic and so many people from that period. And he passed away, and we lost Paul. And Gloria and I obviously have, stayed together ever since. So.
Gloria, since this is the first time you saw the film, do you mind telling us what you thought? Since this was the first time you've seen the film, do you mind telling us what you thought?
Karen did a fabulous job. As for myself, I'm glad it's all over. I wouldn't want to go through it again.
I have to tell you, I have to just say that Gloria is, the real test of Gloria is that when she met my 12-year-old son a number of years ago, she fell as in love with him as she did Brian. And I was so moved by it. To this day, they have a really great relationship. They talk on the phone, they write each other, and it's really lovely. Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here with us tonight, Gloria.
And Michael Musto, is he?
Did he run out?
He may have left.
Might have
No, he's hiding.
But
This is really, I mean, he is the
Michael.
king of New York. Those of you who may be too young to remember. But this is the man who made New York in the 1980s. Yay. Do you have anything?
Well, I have an exclusive gossip item, which is Brian just confided in me he's going back to being Tish. I'm joking, and one of the great things about my friendship with Brian is that we have always been able to joke about it. We used to call Tish the girl with something extra. And the serious side of Brian's story is that I feel sometimes there's a tyranny within the queer community that you have to be this kind of queer, that kind of transgender. You can't be too much like a drag queen or vice versa. You have to be that kind of gay man. And the reality is we're all different, and we all have our story, and this was Brian's story. So deal with it.
We have a question right here.
First, it was a very important film particular time, because the question of gender is getting so rigid. And Brian, the courage it took to take these steps is unbelievable. And I just want to know if you would share a little bit about your body and how you dealt with your body in the transition.
Come here.
Were you supported by medicine that were not transphobic or homophobic?
So the question is if Brian can talk a little bit about the physicality changes that he went through as he detransitioned and what kind of support he received as he was going through kind of the biological changes.
Well, thank you, Jim. Thank you for being here, and thank you for your Jim Farrat, everybody. Icon, legend, gay rights pioneer. I had a lot of support. It wasn't support from where you would think it would come from, but I had a tremendous amount of support from my sober community, my recovering, brothers and sisters, my continuing support with Gloria. Gloria was there. I had, that kind of support, which was really integral. I also had, outside help, therapy, but the transition. The physical transformation was difficult in the beginning to become that thing up there, and just as difficult and challenging to reclaim, like Maxine Waters, I guess I'm reclaiming my body here, but reclaiming my physical body was challenging as well. There was lots of, physical activity. I had to, I remember going into the gym for the first time and seeing men naked and, their, beautiful, gorgeous, physiques, and feel, at one point I went to the gym, I still wore a binder because I still hadn't had my second operation for my breasts, and so I remember just being so freaked out when I went in there. But anything's possible a day at a time. Anything's possible one step at a time. And slowly, I became more confident. And luckily, I've got the Russian, Portuguese, Eastern European genes, and I'm very strong. And my brothers are very muscular, and so I was able to sort of achieve some comfort, and that I was able to transform my body a little bit, that I was comfortable with it. But it was challenging, just as challenging, retransitioning as transitioning the first time.
Thank you, Brian. And so unfortunately that is all the time that we have, but we will be out on the lobby. Please put your hands together, ladies and gentlemen, for Brian, for Nevie, for Karen, and for Michael. This film is eligible for an audience award, and forgot to mention that at the beginning. Please do vote. You should have handed a ballot on the way. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for coming for I'm Gonna Make You Love Me. Thank you.